who said I have to be that? Who said I have to be that person, that parent? Like, I get to decide what I want that person to look like, and not because of that being an expectation from society or family, but how do I want my life to run? Like, in my family, nobody thinks the way that we run our family is right, and I don't care. And that's okay. And it took me letting go of that expectation.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, a podcast designed to encourage women to take their back of the napkin idea, launch it, and grow a wildly successful business. I founded We Wild Women, an entrepreneur training company, to help women like you, moms and go-getters, start the business of their dreams the right way. Not too long ago, I launched my $1 million agency when I was 8 months pregnant with my first son, and welcomed my second son only 11 months later. So I know how to grow businesses and babies. Join me as I teach you the guiding principles and how to start and grow your business while overcoming the voice in your head screaming, "It's not possible." These raw and funny episodes will make you feel like you're right here with me, sipping on some Pinot and leaving more confident saying, "Yes, I can." Every episode leaves you with some action items and a real kick in the ass to get started. Here on Into the Wild, you'll hear from other trailblazing entrepreneurs and experts, because I know that the best advice is from someone who's successfully done it before. So put your headphones on, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in, because Into the Wild is about to begin.
Subscribe to my mom's podcast.
Hey, you wild women. My next guest is the CEO and founder of It's Tay LLC, which houses Breadwinner Co, as well as the co-founder and CEO of It's VA Tay. She started her entrepreneurial endeavors in 2016 when she was 7 months pregnant. At the time, she had no money, no degree, and absolutely zero clients. But that didn't stop her from quitting her 9-to-5 to become an entrepreneur. She's a wife, mother, and multi-business owner who has a true passion for helping women build lives they not only love, but are incredibly proud of, being the breadwinner of their own life. So please welcome the incredible Tay Daniels.
Hi, hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me. We have pretty much the same past.
Yeah, right? We are the same person.
Yeah. What I loved about this, when it was like you or somebody on your team pitched it, I was like, pitched you to be on the show. I was like, we have the exact same messiness that became our message.
Yeah, I had listened to the podcast and I told my assistant, I was like, you have to reach out. Like, this is so good. We have to connect and collaborate. Let's get in the same room. And I was so excited when you were like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah, that's what sold me was the story. Because I was like, people think we're crazy. And it's not like we just sat there when we were 19 years old and then designed this. Oh, I'm going to launch an agency and have 2 babies in the same 11 months. Maybe some people plan this out, but it just kind of unfolded and we went with it.
Yeah.
Let's start with some quick questions, and then it gives the ladies tuning in a chance to get to know you faster. Hey, where are you from?
I am from Kansas City. I'm actually from a small town in Kansas. And then I moved to Kansas City right after college, and I've been here ever since.
I've never been. To go sometime. What is your favorite quote?
Ooh, my favorite quote, and I actually don't know who it's by, but it's, "The people who like you will support you, and those who don't matter."
Ooh, right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know who said that, but I've heard variations of that too.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of business advice you ever received?
Ooh, this is a tough one. I've received so much good advice. Actually, you know what? The number one best thing I've ever received, and I recently received it from my coach, is that you can be right or you can be rich. Do you want me to go into detail on that one?
It's kind of like you can win or you can learn.
Yeah, because no one knows everything, right? Coaches have coaches, 6 million, 7 million, multi-million, billion-dollar people, they have coaches. And there's always more to learn. So you can sit in a room and be like, I'm right and I know everything, or you can be there to learn and be open to change.
It's the mature ones that will take the blame and take the fall for their team.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so you can be right or you can be rich.
You can be rich. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
Best advice
I'd like
I've
to
ever
be
received.
both.
Right? I know. We all want to be right. But I think I would rather be rich.
I like that. So then they understand where their weaknesses are and what they don't know. Right?
Yes. And you lean into it.
I love that.
Lean into the failures.
No, they're not failures. They're lessons.
Yes. Yes. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what is one of your biggest business mistakes?
Actually, my biggest business mistake is that I grew my business, my first business, without a future or a path. Instead of envisioning, what do I want my future to look like? I built it, how can I make money, right? Because I just quit my 9 to 5 and I needed to make money. So then I put myself back into this 9 to 5 space where I was hustling and working 60-hour weeks just to make enough money to live versus building a business from the ground up that was going to support the future I actually wanted to live and to be a present parent. And then I got myself stuck in that position and had to dig out of it.
Yeah, I probably still make that mistake sometimes, but that's a big one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a book you're reading now or something you're listening to that you would highly recommend?
I love Jen Sincero. Is that her book?
Yeah, I think it's Sincero. Yes.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I've read her books like over and over again, but I'm actually in the process of becoming a certified coach. So with that, I'm reading like a 500-page book on what we have to read to be certified. So that's where I'm really diving in right now.
Is that through Jen's program? Or
no, that is through the Life School. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Is that Brooke Castillo?
Yep, that's her.
Okay. Yeah. On a book.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Okay. So I want to know now, what inspired you to start your companies? You have a couple of them.
Yeah. So the first one I started, it was absolutely my daughter. I was pregnant. I was working at a 9 to 5. I did not want to go back. Like I just wanted to be at home with my daughter. And I never thought I would be a business owner, entrepreneur. I never thought I would do any of that. I just wanted to be at home with my daughter. And so I searched high and low for how I could do that, stumbled upon being a virtual assistant, quit my job just to be a virtual assistant and be at home with my daughter. But then as I grew into that position, I was like, wow, I love building a business. Like I love being a business owner. I love helping people build businesses. And through our agency, I just kept coming back to clients that needed help on how to build a business. And in 2019, I was asked to be a speaker at a conference, and people just came to me like, how do I build my business? And then coaching kind of fell into my lap, and I loved coaching. So from there, it was like, this is 100% my purpose is to help people build a life that they love. So it's kind of, like you said, 2 businesses in 2 different parts because I was in 2 different spaces. But ultimately, it was just to be at home, be a present parent.
I love that. Yes. I feel like mine may have been the same. For me, it was all about freedom and flexibility. And people are like, hey, are you an entrepreneur? I was like, I'm sure I can have just as much fun and a sense of fulfillment working for somebody else, but I'm not going to be confined to somebody else's schedule.
Yes. Especially as a parent. Like I love that on Tuesdays I can take her to dance and then we can go to lunch. And then on Fridays, like I can take the day off and be with my spouse. It's just, you don't find that in a 9 to 5.
And maybe things are changing too. I feel like when there's more like feminine energy that's now becoming the leaders of organizations, they're understanding this.
Yes.
Because whoever said that you're only productive 9 to 5, Monday to Friday?
Yes.
Knowledge workers?
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I love it. And I tell people this all the time is that with my team, and then as I hire employees, like they won't work Fridays. They'll have 3-day weekends, and like the stuff that in corporate, I hope people break. I think we'll start, like you said, with women, feminine energy, and taking afternoons off to be with your children when they get out of school, like not sitting in an office doing things that we can do tomorrow. Yeah. It's going to be there.
Well, so I'm still reading a book, Deep Work by Cal Newport. I've not been doing well reading books. And he even says in the book that you like, especially if we're trying to be creative, and most people can only do deep work for 1 or 2 hours and they're kind of tapped out. Yeah. But people that work a normal work day, whether it's for your business, for somebody else, and they think they'll have dinner with the kids, be with the kids, and they'll start working again at night, is actually reduces your productivity the next day.
I believe it 100%.
When we think of productivity is like, okay, sometimes I'll stand there as like, washing my face, brushing my teeth before I go to bed. I was like, did I actually work 8 hours today? Because somewhere in society, they said you are only productive if you work 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And I so don't believe that, because I think everyone's different. And I've learned this through my team. Like I'm a very much morning person. Like before the sun comes up to noon, like those are my hours. And then afternoon, I'm kind of like slowing down. But other people are like really active in the afternoon. And I think knowing that about yourself and then channeling that to be really productive in a few short hours, getting your work done and then doing other things, it's good for not only your life, but your business too. Because like you said, you're going to do better work in that time.
Yeah. Like with my team, when I had my agency, for the most part, if you didn't have scheduled client calls, I'm like, contractually, as we're going, it makes sense that we dictate how many hours a week are expected because legal stuff. However, I don't care when you work, right?
Yeah.
If you want to put in an extra 2 hours because you're just going down this rabbit hole of work, then fine. But I would have team members come in at 10, they leave at 6. I was always there at 8:30. So I'm like, as long as you show up, get your work done. I don't care.
That's how I am too. Like just do the work, whatever that means to you, get it done on time, live your life.
Yeah, exactly. We had a no vacation policy, as in like didn't have a vacation policy, take all the time off that you need when you need it. My only rule was, because we had a small team, was you can't have the same vacation week as somebody else.
Someone else. Yeah.
That was
exactly.
it. So like summer vacation came up. I was like, hey, this is when I went off, and like you guys figure out your schedule, and they would work together really cool. And it was great. And even like I say, listen, if your daughter has a dress rehearsal at 2 p.m. on a Friday, don't ever feel guilty for asking for that time off. Never.
Absolutely not.
That is more important than you sending a couple emails to a client. Like please.
Exactly. Yes. I love that too. And I think this will be the shift to a new beginning of what corporate even looks like, or that's my hope. And I think that's such a powerful thing.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll get
too.
there. Okay. So let me know. And I hate the word balance. We call it integrated life over here. How do you balance, quote, balance raising a family and growing your business? What is the tricks? What are the tips? What are the things you do that most of the people don't do?
I love this question because I think as a mom, there's this, it's like something in society that makes you feel like you have to do it all and you have to balance it in this like perfect way. Otherwise, you're not a good wife or mom or business owner, or that you can only be good at one. And so my theory is that every day is a new day and someone is going to need something from me, whether that is my husband, my daughter, my team, my business, my clients. So how do I prioritize who needs me most in that moment, or who needs me most in this day? The other thing I do is I ask for help and I schedule out my life. And I know a lot of people are like, I'm not a schedule person, but this will set you free. And by that, I mean that my husband and I have a rotating schedule of whose night is it to put the kids to bed? Whose night is it to do the dishes or to decide dinner or to make dinner or to clean? And my family at first, like my grandmother was like, it's your job, you're a woman, to do all the housework and take care of the kids. And I was like, well, it's all in society. Men are to also make all the money, which I do. I'm the breadwinner of the family. So that is not fair. Yeah, it's not fair for you to expect me to make all the money and do all the things. So to achieve that balance, it's what works for us and like what works for you. Don't be afraid to do things that feel good. Hire a nanny, put your kids in daycare, put your kids in school, or, hire a housekeeper if you want to. Like do the things that make your life easier and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes. And I know there's some listeners that don't have the means. I get it. There's a thing about being creative. If you're an entrepreneur, you can be creative. Yep. And there are people that have the means, but there's so much guilt to outsource those things. Like, I'm going to admit something. I don't pick my kids up from school at all. And my husband doesn't either. We don't. Yeah. I drop them off because I want to. We have our nanny house manager who does that. Yes. And of course, my mom, who's very traditional, she's like, wow, like, really? Isn't that your job? I'm like, I'm not getting paid to do this, quite frankly. I don't want to. And it's not going to change anything for my kids, because here's what it allows me to do. In the hour it takes to go and collect them, I get to finish work so that when they walk in the front door, I am more present with them.
Exactly.
So it's like getting your time back. It is called buying back your time.
Exactly. And like you said, if you don't have the means to do that right now, maybe that's a future goal. What could you do right now? Like can you build your business so you only work 3 half days or 4 half days or 2 half days or 2 days, so that you can split time between being a parent or doing housework or doing whatever it is that you need to do. And then also not feeling guilty for like letting clothes sit in the dryer an extra day. Like they'll be there. You have other clothes. Don't beat yourself up for those things. Are your kids fed? Are they happy? Are you fed? Did someone get a shower today? Like, cheer yourself on for doing those things and let the rest of it go.
And one more thing to add to this too is depending on the age of your children, I'm saying this from my own experience and from my journey, is not letting go sooner, as in wanting or thinking I have to do all these things for my kids because I'm going to be a good mom if I'm always cutting off the crusts of their sandwiches, if I'm always like putting their clothes away for them. The moment you're like, they're old enough to be able to do this themselves. Yes, it won't be done right. Yes, it'll be messy. And there's probably a chance someone will hurt themselves at some point. We're actually making them better humans.
Yes. I am learning this. My husband's so good at helping me learn this because it's been hard for me, especially with just having one. I think with more, I'm hoping I'm going to let go. But yeah, like she's 5, like she wants to help. Like, what can I help with? Like, give them jobs and give them jobs, of course, within their means, but it keeps them engaged and creative. It keeps them off the iPad. It keeps them away from screen time, and you're spending time with them. You're getting things done. And that, like you said, they're becoming better humans by it.
And one thing we do around here is we have a list of chores that they have to do every day. And then every week there's something new. We do not pay them for those chores because this, and I know there's like really great apps out there and there's psychology behind this. There is a certain part of this, like the tasks they do in the day, that should be their responsibility anyway. And you don't get rewarded for it. They need to know that this stuff has to happen. The things that they get paid for is like where they go above and beyond, there's something else they're doing and we determine beforehand. But all of this to say is, and why we're talking about this is integrating life and work and creating this balance is because you and I were both able to let go of expectations within society and within our family and friends to be able to do business. And we had to do these things and they were uncomfortable and people shamed us, but we did it, right?
Yep.
And we grew our businesses. High five.
Exactly. Yes.
But speaking of expectations, what were some things that were so hard for you to give up that allowed you to grow the business?
I love this question. And I think the biggest thing I had to let go of was who I thought I would be. I thought, like, I always envisioned like I would be this person or this parent, or I would make this money or be this wife. And I would try to always put myself in there. And then when I didn't meet that expectation, I would be really hard on myself. And as soon as I let go of like, who said I have to be that? Who said I have to be that person, that parent? Like, I get to decide what I want that person to look like, and not because of that being an expectation from society or family, but how do I want my life to run? Like in my family, nobody thinks the way that we run our family is right. And I don't care. And that's okay. And it took me letting go of that expectation. The other thing tangibly I had to let go of was like in the beginning, like not getting my nails done or my hair done or going to tan or doing those financial things because that money is going to being a new parent and building a business because I wanted it more. So there's kind of like two sides of what I gave up essentially to be who I am today.
And I'm sure this resonates a lot with the listeners too, knowing those things like really, even if you were like a teacher or a nurse, right? So these are like the traditional places that women would go and work as far as my family goes. And that would have, from my perspective, would have made my mom, quote, happy if I was a nurse or a teacher. It turns out that's all she knew. She didn't even know the option was to start a business. She didn't know there was an option to go and do anything else. She grew up in a strict Catholic household and you became a nurse or a teacher and that was it. Nothing else. Like the idea of even being a doctor was totally shamed. Don't do that. It's way too much. That's for men. So she grew up with those expectations, so that was imposed upon me but that was the only option. So when I was like this really tall, lanky teenage girl that was like, oh, maybe I'll go and do this like school, I don't know, take like this communications business program, and maybe I'll go travel and then start my own business. It was like, what are you doing? What a waste. It turns out what our parents want is for us to be happy. And that is up to us, right?
Yes.
And to this day, my mom still never understood what I did in my life. Like,
same.
I'm like, I run a PR agency, Mom. I coach female entrepreneurs. Like, how do I have to explain this to you? Right?
I think this is so important. And I talk to a lot of my students about this because they have partners or parents that are not on board yet. And so maybe they're new in their entrepreneur career. And so because it's not proving results quite yet, their partner or their parent is not completely on board. And because the reason they're not on board is because as a friend or a spouse or a parent, like you said, we want them to be happy. And we think in order for them to be happy, they have to be safe, making a steady income that's predictable, that keeps them safe. They don't know any better, like you said. Then they project that onto you. But I can tell you, and my parents did this to me forever. And then I became a 6-figure business owner and I out-earned my mom and I make more money than my mom does. And at 28 years old, my mom is like my biggest cheerleader. She asks me for advice. She's like so proud, but I had to clap for myself until I could prove that they had something to clap for. And that is probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Right. Because when you're like turning to these people that were there for you every step of the way, and all of a sudden they're like not really supporting you. Because here's the thing, especially when it comes to parents, is they don't want to see you fail.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They didn't sign up for that. And so we look at entrepreneurship as this big, scary thing, which it is. But what we've also learned is that getting a job isn't safe. There's no security in that. You can be fired, dismissed, your company could close. Like there's no security anymore. You may as well do the thing you love to do.
Yeah. Create it for yourself.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about this creation. So having babies and growing businesses, tell us, how did you launch and grow your company? And then you 6-figure, correct? Right.
Yeah.
Over $1 million. How did you do this?
Oh man. Sometimes I'm like, how did I do that? I would say when I first started as a virtual assistant, I was just freelancing. I was trading time for dollars. Like I said, I just needed money. And that was in 2016. In 2018, I went through a divorce and I left an abusive marriage and I did not have enough money to live and survive. And at this point, I have a 1-year-old and I had no idea what I was going to do. So I went back to the 9-to-5 world, or at least I attempted. I went in for an interview for a job, $40,000 a year, more money than I was making as a virtual assistant. I was like, yes. I went in for my second interview. They turned me down because I didn't have a college degree and she did. And I was devastated. Within less than 6 months of that, I ended up niching down to the wedding industry for my agency because I thought, you know what? I'm just going to take a shot at this. I love the wedding industry. I always have. In 6 months, I was an agency. I was booked out because I had niched down. And from there, I will say I kind of just figured it out as I went. I feel like every turn was like something new and I was just learning. So it was just a lot of learning experiences over and over and over again. And then 2019 came around. At this point, I'm a year and a half into my agency and I feel like I know what I'm doing. Like we're getting clients, I'm learning marketing, I'm learning sales, I'm learning how to grow and build a business. And mind you, I did this with no private community, no ads. I didn't do the traditional thing that everyone tells you to do. And so in 2019, I was asked to be a speaker at that conference and then the floodgates opened of clients.
Okay. What conference was it?
This was the WED Midwest conference. So it was for wedding professionals. And this was to help wedding professionals grow the back end of their business. Workflows was my specialty. I really did all back end of business as a VA. So through these years of being a VA and OBM and an agency, all I did was everything back end because wedding professionals are so creative. They do everything on the front end. They love to be with clients, but they weren't good at being a type A organizing person. So I was that person for them. I was the person that put in the workflows and I could see the big vision and I could see how to implement it for them. So I presented that at this conference and just like I said, the floodgates opened. I had tons of clients come to me, but everybody who came to me, it was like two ends of the spectrum. They wanted to be coached. They wanted to know how. How do I build this business? How do I grow it? How do I scale it? Like, what am I doing wrong? Or they wanted somebody to implement it. And that was where I came in to coach and consult. And then my agency came in to implement. And at this point, I felt so deeply like this is where I meant to be. Like I meant to coach women. And through my story that I had finally shared in 2020, that, I was in an abusive marriage and I left, and that was years ago. And I'm terrified to tell people, but I felt like somebody needed to know that story. That then opened the floodgates of other women that were in similar scenarios. And they were like, I can't leave because I don't have enough money. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to help these women build a life for themselves. Every woman here, whether you're married, not married, you have kids, you don't have kids, you're in an abusive relationship, it doesn't matter. As a woman, you should have choices for your own life that should not be dictated by money or people or anything else. And then that started my coaching career. And I do both now until we decide to sell our agency. And I feel like this was the best choice I ever made.
Pursuing big ideas, following your dreams, and taking chances can feel scary, especially if you're doing this all alone. That's why I created the Wild Collective, a community for women just like you who want to create, launch, and grow a wildly successful business. Whether you're just starting out or in a rut or aiming for the first $1 million in sales, there is nothing more powerful than surrounding yourself with a community of women just like you that want to succeed. Look, you can Google the answers to all your business questions and find some stellar content. You can vent to your friends, or you can lean on your neighbor for some business advice. But nothing compares to joining a vetted community of insanely talented and mindful women that are all reaching for the same dream: to live their life on their terms while growing a purpose-led business. In the Wild Collective, we host monthly expert trainings, group coaching from myself and other experts, access to a growing portal of incredible content designed to help bring your business to life and beyond, discounts to offers and events, and the greatest growing community in this corner of the internet. So if you're craving that connection and community as a listener to the podcast today, you can gain early access to the Wild Collective. Simply pause this episode. Pause the episode, click the link in the show notes, and join us. I can't wait to connect with you and help you grow a wildly successful business. See you there. Okay, first of all, congratulations. Wow. So, a question about the conference that you spoke at. Mm-hmm. Going into it, so somebody asked you to speak at it. How? Who was this person, and what was your relationship to this person?
So during this time in my agency, I was reaching out to local vendors for wedding professionals to just try to get my name out there. And I came across a magazine in Kansas City. It was for brides, and then wedding professionals were in it. And I just reached out for her and I to network. And like 3 months later, she was like, "Hey, we have a conference coming up. I would love for you to be a speaker." At this point, I've never publicly spoke or coached. And
you must have lost a lot of sleep, huh?
Oh yeah. So they asked me in I think it was like 6 months before. So I had like 6 months to stomach this. And I immediately said yes. I was like, I know I have to do this. And then after I said yes, I was like, oh my God, what did I just say yes to? Like you said, losing sleep over it. Confession. I just put this confession out on my podcast so people know now, but I did drink a little wine shooter before I went on stage.
I used to do a vodka shot before every webinar, but no, I don't. I do not do that.
Right.
And for this woman asking you to go speak in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah.
Was it specific content that she wanted you to cover?
She asked me to present a topic of whatever my specialty was. And at that time, it was building out workflows to keep your back end of your business simple, streamlined, all the things to make business
so nerdy.
Simple.
So you essentially show up to this event with something that these wedding people, we'll call them wedding peoples, know they need to do. It's the most obnoxiously boring stuff to do on their back end of their business. And all of a sudden there's this woman who shows up on stage and she's telling me everything I know I need to do. Right. So right time, right place.
Yeah.
And it's not luck. You definitely were intentional about this. So to summarize how all this growth happened was that you found a niche that worked for you because you were very passionate about it. You realized over time, it's an iterative process. So you do something, tweak it, do something, tweak it. You are networking, which is huge.
Yeah.
Asked to speak on stage with a very specific topic that is a huge pain point for your industry. And then that just blew up.
Yep. And mind you, for those 2 years of being a VA and then an OBM and then agency, I was not on social media. Instagram and social media were not like it was today, but I wasn't on social media because I hated social media back then. I didn't have my first.
Now you're on it, right? Instagram.
Oh,
so I was just totally creeping you before this. So what's your handle again? Yep. So everyone can go creepy now.
Yeah, it's Tay Daniels _LLC. Yeah, now I love the gram.
Tay, yes. Yeah, you do. Such cute stuff. Okay. So all this to say that you weren't on social, You didn't put any money behind ads.
Nope.
You simply had the courage to go out and network, find a very important problem to solve for the industry, solve it well, and then all of that kind of came together.
Yep.
So where do you think you did this well and most other people fail in all of this?
Oh, I will say resilience of knowing that I'm going to fail and I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to get back up and keep pushing on and doing it anyway was number one. And number two, trusting myself and my beliefs. Because this is the thing. If you do not trust yourself when you fail or you make a mistake or you get knocked over the head by life, you're not going to get back up. Or when you do, you're going to either be the victim to your circumstance or you're going to be like, I tried and I can't do it. And you're not going to keep pushing through that pain and that uncomfort of like, I know for a fact I'm going to make this work no matter what it takes. And I think that that's a conscious choice that not everyone is willing to make.
Yeah, a lot of people, myself included, doubt ourselves. And it's just, I see these women just like this lotus leaf unfolding because they spent this whole life like following an industry or something. They thought that it was the thing they were loving. And then all of a sudden, it's something completely new and it was like meant for them at the time. And like the growth was crazy. I actually interviewed a woman on the podcast yesterday she talks a lot about like financial freedom for women, especially in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it's just like, I giggled, which is like, oh, I'm so ashamed that I said that. But because we think women at that age has to have had this all figured out, but most women don't. And so it's like one day for her, it was like this thing she just figured out with her niche, what problems she needed to solve for them. And that pretty much every person she talked to that fit that avatar was buying from her.
Yeah.
Just like that. Boom, boom, boom. Like millions of dollars later.
Put yourself out there too. That's the thing. Okay. So you decide on something today and you put yourself out there and it doesn't work. Change it. You put yourself out there and it works. Great. Like who cares? And you are allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to try new things, trial and error, what works, what doesn't work for you. And you get to make those decisions. You hold that power. Don't let that fear of what other people might think about you. Who cares? No one is thinking about you the way you're thinking about you, I promise.
I know. Yesterday, I did a brand photo shoot, and one of the coolest places to do it here is this coffee shop called Bright Jenny. So shout out to Bright Jenny if you're in Kelowna. And there were so many people there. Yeah. And the photographer was just like, are you shy? Is this awkward for you? I was like, you know what? Last year, you asked me this question. I would have said, let's go find somewhere else. This year, I'm like, I don't care. I'm in this bright pink skirt, twirling around in front of a wall, at a chair, working on my laptop. Everyone was watching me. And she's like, you're okay. I said, I don't care anymore. Yeah. Because they're going to have opinions either way. And it's really just a reflection of them and not me. Yes, so if they're making fun of me and they're like chatting about me behind my back, then that's them. I had so many people come up to me and say, you look beautiful. I love your skirt. Your hair looks great. What is this for? You have so much energy. I was like, those people were actually inspired by what I was doing.
Yeah. That's why I say the people who love you and support you will, and the people who don't matter. And that's the thing too. A lot of times that will even open up conversations for, like you said, what do you do? And then they're like, oh my gosh, I need someone that does that. Or I know someone who needs you. And then you're networking and you don't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. And networking is huge. So I love how you just put yourself out there. I get it a lot. And I'm at this point now in my life, I feel like I'm getting old, that I can choose who I want to be networking with. But that's the thing, like for me in my career too, is like, it was all about who I know. And it is about who you know. It's who's going to be your cheerleader, who's going to be there to support you or make introductions. So the more you can do something for somebody else, provide value and network, the better it is for your business.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for your VA company, so you have the two companies, right? The VA company and the agency, right?
No, the VA company is the agency and then the coaching is the other side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So who are the people that you coach?
So I coach service providers who are ready to transition into being a coach of some sort. So you're ready to coach, course create, do intensives, but you're ready to move out of that freelancer trading time for money as a service provider, and you're ready to step into being a CEO and building full-on business. So whether that means you have an agency and you have a team and you're coaching that way, or you're moving into just being a coach and no longer providing services.
Cool. And you have a pretty significant mentor in this space?
I do. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Her and then Stacy Bayman. I'm working with now both of them, which is like crazy. It's amazing to be in a space of women who make millions of dollars and are confident, and their parents, and they're just like, I just can't explain the feeling to be in their space.
So how important is coaching and was coaching for you in growing your business?
It is single-handedly the one thing that got me to the next level. I will forever be grateful for being coached, having coaches and mentors, because without them, I would definitely not be where I'm at today. And I would not have hit 6 figures in 6 months without having coaches. Like, it was like the secret to success, which was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's just not a plug for you or I, but I 100% believe in coaches too.
Right?
Everything, like nutritional coaches, athletic coaches, parenting coaches. You need to find the person that is for this part of your life, this thing that you have this problem, this headache around, to help break you through to the next side. When I had my agency, I had an incredible coach. His name is Jason Swank, and he helped us. And he wasn't cheap. He was very expensive. But it was the first call alone essentially paid for the year of his coaching, because he saved us like $15,000 in this error that we were doing, and like just helped us like boom, 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 restructure things. And it was just like, without that advice, we would have been in the same spot or in the red. And this was the year of coaching that threw us over into the $1 million a year agency.
And this is the thing that people think about when they think hiring a coach or mentor. It's that it is expensive, or this is going to cost me money, but not doing it costs you more. And I only know this because I didn't hire a mentor sooner. In my agency, I spun and spun and spun from being a VA to agency for 40 years. And I just felt like every time I got ahead, I was right back in. And I just didn't know what that step was until I hired my first mentor. And like I said, in 6 months, I made 6 figures. And it was like they just pieced it all together. And sure, it was a 10K program, but it paid for itself times 10?
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. I love the story. We could talk about this forever, but I have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Oh, I love it. Being a wild woman to me is living life unapologetic, being your unapologetic self in all realms, and showing up as your most authentic self that feels good to you, what anyone else says or thinks about you.
I love it. Unapologetic is definitely the word that is used the most when I ask this question. And I feel like I need to have a conference called the Unapologetic Conference.
Please do.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So if people want to find out more about you, where can they go online to find you?
Come find me on Instagram. Over there, you'll find all of our links for our programs, our website. But that's the main place to find me, and come say hello.
So it's Tay Daniels _LLC. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.